I will now call to order the City of Portage Planning Commission meeting for December 6, 2021. If you would stand and say the pledge. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Monroe, could you call roll?
Austin Fonta.
Here.
Tom Sherry. Carrie Gunning.
Here.
Gina Geishurst.
Here.
Hortensia Moreno.
Here.
Charles Thompson. Luke Wyman.
Here.
Kevin Witherspoon. Denise Little.
Here. Has everybody had an opportunity to look at the minutes? And if so, with no corrections or addition, may I have a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve.
We have a motion to approve. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those against? Motion carries. Any reports of officers or committees?
Madam Chairman, every year we try to get together for a Planning Commission Board of Zoning Appeals workshop. We held one in 20, we didn't hold one last year, some stuff going on. This year, the hope is to conduct one in late January. So over the course of the next month, polling the members of both Planning Commission and Board of Zoning Appeals for that training session. So please keep your eye out for emails, and we'll try to get something set.
Okay, sounds perfect. What I'm going to do, because we have 3 that new business with a public hearing, I am going to move S03-21 to before the public hearings.
S0321 Shoreline Development LLC, care of Woltoff Homes, 8051 Wicker Avenue, Suite A, St. John, Indiana, seeking secondary plat approval for Doomwood Trails subdivision phase 2 along Doomwood Street and Lakewood Avenue, 58 lots and 1 lot.
Good evening.
Good evening, Jeff Yatsko with Old Tough Homes, 8051 Wicker Avenue, St. John, Indiana. We are seeking secondary plat approval for Doomwood. This is phase 2 of Doomwood Trails, and this would complete everything that was originally primary platted for Doomwood. We received some staff comments. We had a meeting. There was a couple of comments on addresses, so we addressed those. The plat's been to Porter County for review, so the auditor's already reviewed that as well. So we're here seeking final plat approval.
Okay. Mr. Knudsen, it's my understanding that we have everything that was a question mark that we
Yeah, he's had all comments. I have a plat here, so in the future, it's been signed. So.
Okay. Any questions from the commission? If no questions, may I have a motion?
I'll motion to approve.
We have a motion to approve. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Monroe, could you call roll?
Austin Bonta.
Yes.
Carrie Gunning.
Yes.
Gina Geishurst.
Yes.
Hortensia Moreno.
Yes.
Luke Wyman.
Yes.
Denise Little.
Yes. Congratulations.
Thank you.
If you could call our first order of new business with a public hearing.
Absolutely. P0321 Taco Homes, 5955 Central Avenue, seeking primary plat approval for Cedar Creek subdivision, phase 4 and 5, 20 acres south of the current Cedar Creek sub, 48 lots and 1 lot.
Good evening.
Good evening. Corral these
these papers. My name is Todd Leith. I'm here on behalf of the petitioner, Todd Gore Homes. We're here seeking primary plat approval for the last two phases of a 3-phase subdivision known as Cedar Creek. This is phases 4 and 5. It's 20 acres, I think, as was indicated, and 48 lots. This is a existing development. This is the next phase, continuing on. I'm joined tonight by Scott Savanich from Doomwood Group Engineering, and Scott has, and his office has prepared all of the plats and the important engineering detail, 34 pages of detail, if you will. We received not so long ago a 3-page list of staff comments. Mr. Savanich and his group are working on responding to those comments. I want to make a brief observation with regard to those comments. It's 3 pages and there's a number of those comments, but some of them are as simple as change the name of the planner and their phone number and that kind of thing. So there's a lot of shall we just say, housekeeping matters. But I also don't want to suggest to you that there aren't some important issues on there as well, as you know, for example, water main looping and so forth. That's all provided, and we're going to provide those revised drawings to you. We're hoping in the next few days, week perhaps, to allow staff to review those. At which time, because the list of comments is pretty significant, at least in number, we're not going to ask for your approval tonight, but we would like you to hear the public comment so that we can hear the public comment. And if need be, that will give us the opportunity between now and the January meeting to react to those and make any changes to the plan. So with that, I'm simply going to rest and allow the public comment, and I'll be back to answer any questions that might arise from that. And I'd also like to hear your comments, and we'll respond to those as well. So thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. Before I open the public hearing, if anybody has comments, but they do not feel comfortable speaking in public, if you will write those down, I will make sure that those are entered into the record. We do allow you to come to the podium at one point for one time, and we ask that you not talk about in length the same question over and over again. So if there's 2 in a family, both of you can speak. So, and then we will have all your questions answered by the attorney to have that taken care of for you. So now I will go ahead and open the public hearing. Is there anybody here to speak for the petitioner? Is there anybody here to speak for the petitioner? Is there anybody here to speak for the petitioner?
Is that for the?
If you are in favor of the petition, then I would ask for you to come up and speak at the podium. Is there anybody here to speak against the petitioner? Come up to the podium, and
I just have questions.
Okay, we still would like you to come up to the podium. And we will have all your questions answered. And if you could state your name and your address, and then also sign in for the record.
Madam Chairman?
Yes.
There's a sign-in sheet for this specific petition, Contour Homes, MVP 0312.
Do you need a pen or anything?
There's a pen up there.
Okay.
Sign this paper or something?
Does it say for Todd Gore Homes?
Yes.
Okay. And if you could just state your name and address for the commission.
My name is Daniel Carden. My address is 7421 Belle Plaine Court, Cedar Creek subdivision. Okay.
Yes.
I just have a few questions.
Okay.
We were at a meeting here in 2018 for this, and nothing ever happened with it. My lot backs up to that field, and I was just curious of why nothing ever happened in 2018, whether we got a answer of why, you know, there was no building going on or what. So I'm curious of why nothing ever happened in 2018. There's one way in and out of the subdivision, of the new subdivision, is off of 149. Is there gonna be a traffic light there? That's a really dangerous intersection. There's always an accident there. So I'm curious if there's gonna be a traffic light there. I have a problem with 149 gets blocked up for one reason or another. All the traffic's gonna come through the first phase of the subdivision to get over to Lindbergh. So it's kind of weird that there's only one way in and out of that subdivision then, you know. There's fields behind this new phase of the subdivision that are currently being used. Will they continue to be farmed? Because there's only one way to those fields, which would be through the new phase. So if people's buying $400,000 or $500,000 homes in there, is a tractor going to be running through their subdivision to get to the, because that's the only way back there, you know. It was recently brought to my attention that there were some sewer problems with this new phase. If Portage's sewer system can't support that, then are these new $400,000, $500,000, $600,000 homes going to have septic tanks? I'm just asking.
I'll have the experts answer you.
Yeah, I'm
That's
just
the best.
asking because I'm no expert. Is this a Todd Gore only subdivision? Can somebody come in and have another builder build for them, like Olaf or somebody like that, you know? Let's see. How soon would construction start once you guys approve? How much are the lots costing? I covered the entrance. Will all these homes that are being built in this subdivision be the same style of homes that are in his previous, you know, the first phase, or the different style of home? I recently got on his website and noticed that he's already taken deposits for lots in there. And I mean, why is he accepting deposits for lots and we're here trying to get a permission for that subdivision? I don't understand that. It doesn't make any sense to me. I mean, if it's, you know, well, just in case it goes through, then somebody's already got money down on a lot. Yeah, and if you call and put money down on a lot and it doesn't go through, then you get your money back. I don't know, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. And I mean, if it's gonna happen, then why don't you guys just say it's gonna happen? You know? I mean, how much politics is involved here?
I don't think it's politics. I think we're just very cautious to have all the Ts crossed and the Is dotted.
Is Todd on the building commission for Portage?
No.
Because I was told that he was. Okay. And once this is approved, how fast will this go into?
There's still work to be done with the city. I mean, I'm gonna let them.
We should wait till after.
I'm gonna save all of that and let them answer that for you, because they can give you a time frame.
Okay. If there was a problem with the sewer system somehow, shouldn't the public know about that? I mean, shouldn't that be public information? If there's a problem with a system there?
That's what we're gonna let the city and the attorneys answer all your questions.
So is that true or not, that there was problem from 2018 to now? I mean, somebody knows something.
I don't believe so, but I have all these questions down, and we'll have them all answered for
Okay.
you.
That's all I got.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anybody here to speak against the petitioner? And if you could state your name and address.
My name is Vince Niagara, 7391 Belle Plaine Court, Portage.
Okay.
So we were here last time in 2018 also. Same questions Danny had. Last time they did say when they built them, they were going to leave the tree line that's behind all our houses, and that kind of varies. I was just wondering if there's like an exact measurement. Like, 'cause we all know where our property line is. Like, can we get the exact footage behind the property line that they're leaving? I know the sewer runs through there, so it's kind of like an easement space access.
That's it?
Yes.
That was easy. Is there anybody else here to speak against the petitioner? Is there anybody here to speak against the petitioner? If not, I will close the public hearing and invite the attorney back up to answer all these questions.
Thank you very much. I think I have my work cut out for me. So in 2018, when the gentlemen were here, the request at that time was to rezone the property. It wasn't starting the process of subdividing. It was creating the zoning that would create the standards with which Doomwood Group has to comply when they're preparing the subdivision plat that's now before you. The 2.5 or 3.5 years between 2018 and when we're here now, I can tell you goes very fast in the development business. The detail that's required to come up with the topography information that's required to manage stormwater, to come up with the details that are required to develop plans for the utilities and the stormwater drainage. Those things don't happen overnight. We also had a pandemic somewhere in between 2018 and when we're standing here now. We're still probably at the tail end of it. It's not over. So nothing happened. There's not a problem. This is kind of the normal course of business, quite frankly, in development. Sewer problems, septic systems within the development. There'll be no septic systems. This is a municipal wastewater treatment facility, just like the rest of the subdivision, just like the city of Portage. I mentioned to you that there are comments from staff. Those comments are assembled by Mr. Knutson and Mr. Monroe from the utility department, field forces, from your consulting engineer, Christopher Burke, and from their review of the plans, and potentially others, the fire department. All of those are pulled into this 3 pages. There's not a single comment on here with regard to sanitary sewer capacity, the treatment plant, or the system within this subdivision. Frankly, the utility of most concern with the city was water and water looping, and we've provided for that, and we're going to provide the detail to that. And that's a Indiana American issue. There's no problems with the sanitary sewer. There's no problems with this development with regard to sanitary sewer. The access issue that was raised, one way in, one way out. There is a stub to the south for future development, which will provide the alternative access through this last 2 phases and the last 20 acres. There's also a right-of-way dedication in the very southeast corner of this plat, which would allow for the extension in the future of County Road 1000 further to the west, which would provide that access to Jade as it extends further south in the future when there's future development. We don't control the owner of the farm to the south of us. We don't know what his intentions are. And that's not one of the things, frankly, we're charged with knowing. We're charged with providing a plat to you that meets your code. Todd Gore Homes has been the exclusive builder through Cedar Creek. We anticipate that they will be the exclusive builder in phases 4 and 5. But of course, they're a property owner just like anyone else, and that may change. They may sell lots in the future. But right now, there's no intention to do that. They would continue to develop as they did in the first 3 phases. The style of homes will probably be the same, but architecture changes, materials change, technology improves, so that may change. Again, that's not something your code calls out. We don't have to provide for building plans for the homes that go on the lots. We have to provide the lots that meet the code. And when we come to you, to the building department for a building permit, that's when we have to show you the plans, and everything has to be matching code at that point in time. With regard to what I call lot reservations, Mr. Gore has been taking lot reservations for future phases, lots in this phase. That's not unusual. The way that typically works is a buyer is interested in a specific lot. They don't want Mr. Gore to sell that lot to somebody else, so they put a deposit to reserve that lot should it become available for sale. When would it become available for sale? After you approve the primary plat, after we then go back and prepare a secondary plat, get the secondary plat approved, then that gets recorded, and only then can Mr. Gore sell a lot in phases 4 or 5. That lot doesn't exist until it gets recorded. It doesn't get recorded until you sign off on it. Your office, your staff signs the plat of subdivision. So we can't sell that lot. So that owner who's particularly interested in that coveted lot in the corner on the cul-de-sac or what have you, the only way that they can guarantee that they're going to get that lot. Mr. Gore wouldn't sell it to someone else, is to put a deposit on it. Mr. Gore signs a contract with that prospective purchaser that says, we're going to hold that lot, we're going to hold it until usually a date specific in the future. The money is set aside and applies to the purchase price when we get the secondary plat recorded and we can go forward. There's nothing untoward. Happens with all of my client developers, all of my builders, very common practice. The second gentleman had a question with regard to the protection of the tree line. And while I can't guarantee that the tree line to the north of the lots on the northern tier of phases 4 and 5 will be maintained or protected, I can tell you that a wooded lot is much more valuable than one that isn't. So Mr. Gore has a very vested interest in protecting every tree that's possible. There may very well be drainage facilities that have to go back there. There may very well be utilities that have to be installed. But the utilities, if it's possible to directionally bore and protect the trees, that's certainly what he'll do. Again, tree preservation is as important to Mr. Gore and his company as it is to the neighbors to the north in the existing phase 3. I think I've answered the questions that were posed, and be happy to answer any other questions that you have.
I think the only question that wasn't answered, do you have a price range for lot cost at this point?
Yeah, I guess I didn't plan on answering the question, so I didn't mention it. So the way that property values are right now, if I told you that the property value was $1 or $100, it would be $105 by the time I got home. Because it's just happening that fast. If you go to Zillow or if you go to Realtor.com and mark and watch the price increases, they're actually being quoted by the month. It's $100 in December, and it'll be $105 in February, and it'll be $110 in April. They're actually quoting the prices, acknowledging that there's an escalating value. So the lot prices are what they are. Again, we have to provide you, the city, the Plan Commission, plans that meet your code. And we know that we can get your approval because, and enter into these reservation agreements, because your approval tonight, or when we ask for it next month, isn't discretionary, quite frankly. It's ministerial. And so what does that mean? What that means is, if I have the zoning and my lots match your standards, you don't have the discretion to say no. But if I have a lot that doesn't have the lot size, or the utilities don't pass muster with your engineering department, then we've got to fix that. But if we check all of the boxes, we have a legal right as a property owner in the city to have it approved. And so we're doing that. We're checking the boxes. I'm not up here pounding on the table asking for you to approve it tonight. I'm suggesting to you, let us check all of the boxes, get the utilities all figured out, get the engineers happy that what we've done is according to your code, and I'll come back and then ask you to approve the subdivision plat. That's the law. And has been since I've been doing this for decades, unfortunately. So that's the process. That's why Mr. Gore and every other builder and developer can take reservation deposits, because they know that you can't just simply say, you know what, we got too many homes already, let's not have another subdivision. You can't do that. Mr. Gore and any other property owner, if they want to develop their property, have to go through the recipe, which is your subdivision ordinance, and get it approved. And that's what this process is all about. And so the evidence that we hear tonight about why we should or shouldn't have this subdivision goes into that process. but we've already checked the boxes, in my opinion. And I didn't hear anything as far as evidence tonight that would suggest otherwise. So allow us to address the staff comments, and we'll be back.
I thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm going to ask staff for any comments, and then I'm going to open it up to the commission. So you may want to just stay up there for a moment. Any comments on any of the questions that came from the speakers? No? I'll open to questions from the commission.
The gentleman asked regarding the sewer problems, and were there sewer problems?
Let me be crystal clear, no. There were no sewer problems. If there were, and I'm new to this process, this case, if there were, they'd be in the staff comments. Everything in the staff comments has to do with water as far as utilities is concerned.
Any other questions?
I've got a couple, but if I could ask either Mr. Monroe or Mr. Knudsen something first. So, I mean, we've got a bunch of comments here that have not been answered and addressed yet. How does it happen that something ends up for a public hearing with so much? Can the developer bring it to public hearing anytime that they'd like? I guess I just feel like this could end up being different as these comments get addressed, and we could end up with a plan with some changes that maybe in a normal circumstance the public might want to comment on. And I guess I'm just wondering how we deal with the fact that this is the chance to comment if that plan's not done.
So if that's a concern of the Planning Commission, one option would be to keep the public hearing open. If it's deemed that the commission believes that any of the responses provided by the developer would change anything, so that's definitely a possibility. As you know, we do our best to make sure that these matters are addressed in advance of the meeting when they come to you. In this case, it was clear that those questions couldn't be answered. Staff worked with the developer. That was understood by their attorney. That's why the attorney's not seeking action today, because these comments were outstanding. So that's the best answer I can give to your question.
Thanks.
Yep.
So, getting to the developer side, one of the comments was that you guys needed to request a waiver from installing sidewalks along State Road 194. There was a request form that was given. Has that happened yet?
It has not. First of all, we received these comments, at least I've received them very recently. We're not going to do that until after primary approval, just simply in sequencing. And of course, your protection is that when we're here for secondary plat, then you can ask that question, I guess.
If I understand it right, September 30th is when these were submitted. September 30th was too early to look at the comments?
So September 30th is when we submitted the previous draft. Then these comments were made, and then we received them.
Okay, thank you, and for clarifying that.
Sure.
I can keep going through, but I mean, again, you're aware of these comments. Have any of them been addressed so far?
So,
in particular, could you highlight which ones have been
and I
addressed?
can bring.
I don't mean their comments. I mean what's in here.
No.
No offense to you guys.
I'm pointing to Mr. Savanich. Doomwood Group advises me that there is nothing in these comments that causes them any concern. As I indicated, there's a fair number of these comments that are simply housekeeping. There's some substantial issues here too. I don't want to make light of the fact that this is all, nothing, a lot to do about nothing, but that's not the case with the majority of these. And I feel uncomfortable asking for a contingency approval tonight because there are a lot of these items. And I don't want to spend the time to go through each one of them and say, well, we'll add this note. We'll change Mr. Monroe's name and phone number on the plans. We'll, address this. We'll file for the Board of Works. Those things, if there were 3 of them, or 5 of them, or 7 of them, maybe we could ask for a contingency approval, but we've got a fair number here. And so let us click off those boxes and move on. I don't think that there's anything in here that's gonna, I know there's nothing in here that's gonna change one lot line, one street right of way, or anything with regard to anything that all but the engineers would appreciate, quite frankly.
Can you clarify if any of the comments in here, in particular, some of the significant ones have been addressed so far, or are we still waiting on some of them?
So you're waiting on the plans to be resubmitted following receipt of these. So none of them have been addressed, other than Mr. Savanich and I have spoken with regard to these, and he and I have determined that they are easy to resolve, and he is preparing the revision of the plans to submit.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Any other questions?
A question on the comments here, staff comments, is on number 1 and maybe number 6. It says, please request a waiver from installing sidewalks along State Route 149, attaches a request form. The city is requesting, or having them not install sidewalks? Was it 149?
Their plans show that a sidewalk's not to be put in. This board can't act on that.
I'm sorry, I couldn't, could you restate that? I'm sorry.
The developer is not proposing to install sidewalks on State Road 149. This board cannot give a waiver to what the developer is proposing. That is the responsibility of the Board of Public Works and Safety to consider. That's why this comment is before you, letting you know that it is not your job. It is that of the Board of Works. And that's why staff has directed this developer to that board, so to take this matter off the table. Is that confusing?
Well, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe the city has an ordinance that says all new subdivisions have to have sidewalks. Is this outside of the subdivision?
No. So that is correct. That statement is correct. This developer is proposing not to install those sidewalks. Staff is directing them to the board that would make that decision, to make that decision. Does that make sense? The board, in part, will then have to consider the past actions of the Board of Public Works and Safety, because in Cedar Creek phases earlier, a waiver was granted, and there is not a sidewalk installed between the northwest corner of this property, the northeast corner of this property, and Lindbergh Road. So all of those matters would be taken into consideration prior to the Board of Works making a decision. If the Board of Works does grant the sidewalk waiver, you'll see the amount of money that is assigned to the value of that sidewalk. Staff prepares that number, and that's what's presented to the Board of Public Works and Safety for action.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions?
I could go on just listing all the questions here, but I feel like that wouldn't make much sense because there's nothing to say. Given how much, and again, I know that some of the stuff is pretty simple, changing a phone number, things like that, but some's quite significant, and I guess I just feel like if you think you can get it done right, I would feel more comfortable if we were able to keep the public hearing open for the next time this is submitted. I don't know how to ask for that, though, procedurally.
You just did.
Okay. Well, thank you.
And their response to this is to have new plans drawn.
Right.
So they didn't have time.
And I completely understand. I just think that if a new plan is going to be drawn, there should be an opportunity to speak on it. Otherwise, we're letting people talk now when there's not that much information, whereas when they come back, they can come back and listen, but without us keeping that open, we're going to be commenting on things without them being able to give us any concerns first on what it looks
So
like.
do we want to make a motion to?
Not yet. I have one more question.
Okay. That's fine.
Thank you.
I'd rather get all the questions.
Again, I don't have anything in front of me showing me the design of the property, but the farm, I guess there's a farm behind this and the access to it. I guess I was concerned, not concerned, but I found it interesting. Is this farmed area going to have blocked access now with the new 4th and 5th sections, or there's still access to it for the farmer to get to his property, not going through the subdivision?
So the farm to the west has access to Lindbergh Road to the north. The farm to the south has access to 149, which we would not be blocking. They actually have a drive that's just on the south side of the property line between phases 4 and 5 and their property.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Okay, so my question again, do we make a motion to reopen or leave the public hearing open?
That's the board's desire.
Can that be merged with, or is it the same as a motion to table?
Let's do them
or-
separate.
Okay. So I have a first motion that we keep the public hearing open.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Mr. Monroe, if you could call.
Austin Bonta,
Yes.
Gary Gunning,
Yes.
Amy Geisler,
Yes.
Hortensia Moreno,
Yes.
Luke Wyman,
Yes.
Denise Little.
Yes. And then do we make a motion to continue them until next month?
I'll motion that we continue this until the next month's meeting.
Do we need a date? We need a date.
Oh, I'm sorry. What is the next?
January.
To our next regular scheduled meeting.
To our next regular scheduled meeting.
Second that.
We have a motion and a second. If you could call roll.
Austin Bonta,
Yes.
Gary Gunning,
Yes.
Amy Geisler,
Yes.
Hortensia Moreno,
Yes.
Luke Wyman,
Yes.
Denise Little.
Yes.
Very good. Thank
We'll
you
see
so much.
next month.
Happy holidays.
Thank you. One second. I'm gonna give this to you because this is gonna show you where the tree lines are and how the house is set. So they're not sitting right in the middle of the tree lines. Okay. If we could call our next order of business.
Z0421 Barnes Development LLC, Bell Tire Distributors Inc., care of Enright Architects, 628 East Parent Avenue, Suite 100, Royal Oak, Michigan, requesting a change of zoning from C1 small to medium scale commercial to C2 medium to large scale commercial at 5870 US Highway 6.
Good evening.
Good evening. Christopher Enright, architect, 628 East Parent Street, Royal Oak, Michigan, 48073. I am here representing Barnes Development and Bell Tire. We are proposing to rezone the property at routes or state or Highway 6, just west of the Texas Corral restaurant, which is currently undeveloped, from C1 to C2. That will then support a future Bell Tire store after we apply for and hopefully are approved for special exception for auto service. So we're here tonight to ask for your approval.
Okay. I will now open the public hearing. If there is anybody here to speak for the petitioner, is there anybody here to speak for the petitioner? Is there anybody here to speak for the petitioner? Is there anybody here to speak against the petitioner? Is there anybody here to speak against the petitioner? Is there anybody here to speak against the petitioner? If not, I close the public hearing and open to questions from the commission. Did everybody get everything printed up?
Yeah.
With the plans? You guys, you want to share that with them?
Thank you.
I'll take a look here because I had it here in the
Okay.
okay.
Okay. I know. give us a minute. Not everybody can print
That's
this
not
size.
a problem. I'm perfectly patient. I have no place to go.
Thank you. I didn't get the staff.
I have that here.
So can I ask really quickly, is Bell Tire servicing semis or is this just regular
Okay.
vehicles?
Sorry,
Sorry.
we can't hear you down here
Okay.
with what you're saying.
I'm looking at the drawing and it has a rendition of the building and then it has a semi in the back, and I was asking if this facility was going to be servicing semis or industrial sized trucks, or is it just going to be for regular vehicles?
Bell services only passenger vehicles and small commercial trucks and vans and things of that nature. That image that you're seeing there is to indicate that every once in a while Bell will get or may get deliveries from the back of the building with the truck. We want to make sure the truck gets in and out of there without problem.
Okay.
Did you see this? Okay, thank you. No problem.
Go ahead. Do you have questions?
I'm good.
Okay. Any other questions?
How many, it's the north side states, there's some residential on the north side of the property. I'm trying to see how much residential is affected.
Is it zoned residential or is it existing developed residential? Do we know?
I'm presuming it's zoned residential. It is an existing residential development to the north of us. So actually Fiesta Street, which is part of that development, splits the parcel. At this time, we're not planning on doing anything north of the parcel, that parcel to the north of the right-of-way. There's no road that goes through there right now, which just belongs to the city. But yes, it is near residential. We do have projects that are near residential. So we do fit in with them, we do mesh with them in a lot of these projects that we do. We just have one built in Naperville right now, which is actually abutting single-family houses within 60 feet of the back of the building. So we've done sound studies and things of that nature. So we try to work with the neighbors whenever possible if there are concerns about that, but we have ample information about how the business operates and sound and things of that nature.
What is your rear setback on that, and is it wooded?
The rear setback,
I see the width, but not.
I think it's 50 feet. The dotted line from the dotted line from that red dotted line in the back in our sketch. I believe that's 50 feet from the rear yard. But the building, the actual building itself, is positioned significantly, as it is right now in its current iteration, is significantly south of that northern line.
And is that wooded?
There are trees that are in there, yes, correct.
And would you leave those trees just as a buffer?
We would try to leave as many trees as possible on the north side of that property. We wouldn't want to disturb those at all possible.
How soon do you guys plan on developing, if you get this permission, this is a favorable or unfavorable recommendation from us that goes to the council, then the council approves, or disapproves, as you know, but if you were to get that common council approval, how soon do you expect this site to be developed?
Well, my understanding after talking to Mr. Knudsen is that we have to go in front of the council to get that approval, which will take a couple meetings, and then we have to apply for the special exception of the BZA. So after that particular meeting, if we get a favorable hearing, then we would want to start as soon as possible.
So that's 4 months, so that takes you to the end of March.
Right, correct.
Spring.
In around that time, yes, if possible, sure. Bell's track record is that once they get approval, they build as quickly as possible thereafter.
Any additional questions?
I was just looking at the entrance, there's just one entrance in and
Correct.
out.
Correct.
Would that even include the semis and the deliveries, or do they go out a back way?
No, they would go, that's what the turning radius is trying to show, is that the truck can maneuver behind the building and get out the same way it comes in.
And coming the opposite, I can see going west, you'd be able to easily enter in, but if you were going east, is there a crossover interfering? I can't tell.
From Highway 6 you're talking about,
Yeah.
coming east or west?
Yes.
No, there wouldn't be any difference,
Okay.
whether they're coming in either direction.
Any other questions? If no other questions, can I have a motion?
Okay, so I will motion that we send a favorable recommendation to the Common Council. I think that we could also suggest something to the effect of the City Council in their approval, we might recommend that they put some sort of caveat that within about 24 months, if no action is taken prior to Common Council approval, that the property can revert back to its original zoning of C1. That's a recommendation. They'll have to decide from there to take our advice or not, but I'd like to include that in our motion, or in our request.
Does anybody need that motion repeated? Or are you good?
Repeated.
So a motion for us to send the City Council a favorable recommendation for this zoning change, with the additional recommendation that in their approval they put some sort of a caveat that the property, if no action's taken within 24 months, so that's 2 years after council approval, the property goes back to being its original zoning. C1, that is.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Mr. Monroe, if you could call roll.
Austin Mata,
Yes.
Carrie Gunning,
Yes.
Gina Geis-Hurst,
Yes.
Hortensia Moreno,
Yes.
Luke Weinman,
Yes.
Elise Little,
Yes,
Thank you.
thank you. We'll see you at the Planning Commission. No, at the City Council.
Yes. Yeah.
Sorry.
C0521, I.N. Portage LLC, care of DPG Team Inc., 1155 Trout Line Road, Crown Point, Indiana, requesting a change of zoning from R1 single-family residential to C2 medium to large-scale commercial, M2 medium-density multifamily, and R4 single-family residential for the plus or minus 104 acres that include parcels 64-06-30-100-024.000-016, 64-06-30-100-015, .000-016 and 64-030-100-016.000-016.
Good evening.
Good evening. That's a lot of dots and zeros. My name is Andy Detro. I represent Realty Link, the purchaser of this property, and with me is Greg Hayrie and Russ Posen from DDG, who's our civil engineer for this project. Tonight we come before you asking for approval for rezoning of the what we call the Hatala property and the Victory Christian Center property located on here. It's roughly 104 acres. Our plan, obviously, for a rezone is to do commercial outlots up on US 6, which we believe to be consistent with kind of the vision of the city. The second piece is we're working with a national home builder who is committed to taking all of the lots shown on the plan, and that includes 319 townhomes, as you can see in the yellow, and then 189 single-family residences to the south. This plan, we've had the opportunity to work with AJ and Kurt. We've had 6 meetings over the last, 6-7 months. We've made numerous changes to this plan, numerous changes to this plan, in hopes to be a good partner with the city to accommodate all of the requests needed. Some of those, and I won't go into all of them, but there's been quite a few, is adding where Sterling Creek Road is, a connector road through the middle of our project, which will be built on developer cost and dollars. And then we've extended Pan Am down through the middle of the property, and it'll terminate into the project, as there's no plans right now for that to go south. Everything you see on this plan, even though this is a rezoning hearing, meets code. So that's part of the reason we have DVG involved in this process. We're under the density requirements, and so we seek your approval for a rezone. And happy to answer any questions, of course.
I will now open the public hearing. Is there anybody here to speak for the petitioner? Good evening, and if you'll find your sheet that belongs, so that would be...
Yes.
You have it?
Yes. It's moving. My name is James Satella. I currently reside at 5359 East, 400 North Fowler, Indiana, but I'm part owner of the property. We've been through this several times before, from planning, from promises made. Some of them are over the moon, some of them sound reasonable, but these guys are very transparent. They've done everything I think has been asked of them. They really seem to know what they're doing, and they're very transparent. I've worked construction for 40 plus years. I'm not a developer, I'm not an architect, but been around it long enough to know that these guys are the real deal. And they will do what they say, they will put it in according to plan. And they're just, impressed with them. And I'm not impressed with many people in this line of work, so thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Is there anybody here to speak for the petitioner? Is there anybody here to speak for the petitioner? Is there anybody here to speak against the petitioner? If you could come up to the podium and state your name and address. Good evening.
Hi. My name is David Marsh, 1902 Tanya Street. My question, do I need to write my name down here?
Pardon?
Should I write my name here?
Yes, please.
I didn't look up, or wasn't able to look up these parcel numbers. I have no clue where any of this property is. In layman's terms, where is it? Also, being a novice attender of these things, which I plan to cure, I'm kind of surprised that there are not regular updates to the populace of things that are going up in their area. So I guess I've asked why. If there is, correct me, but I don't believe it is. So we have something going on in my neighborhood that we're very surprised to see. We're not happy about. that surprise. But just, you know, when they deal with parcels, all you guys know what that is, but the layman that's sitting here in the audience, they don't know. So it'd be nice if that could be included. So I guess that's a comment, not a question. Can it be included? Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else here to speak against the petitioner?
This one, I guess. Hi, my name is Don Edmonston. I live 450 West, 780, right? 780 North, 450 West. I know I was called in. I don't really know, like he said, where exactly my property.
So you should see the brown area behind the pond.
Okay. All I know is how my property lands and how they said, and I heard them talking like by Coles and that. And the way my property and a lot of my neighbors' property is our acreage kind of dead ends 1 acre before Coles. So we bought our property, it's been in the family for quite a while. And our goal was to have this property and have our kids build. We never really knew how we were gonna have our roads go through and everything. So if we got somebody coming in and tearing up the land, you know, I'm barely having my deer come around anyway. And we have a lot of trees. So if I got someone gonna build me a townhouse, you know, number one, what's gonna happen to my property? Because I have all these people that we all have acreage, 10 acres back, 1 acre wide, and then I've got them coming in, building these townhouses. What if I wanted to sell my last 3 acres to pay off my house? That was my goal, the idea that we built this 20 years ago. You know, so where do we stand? You know, why are we lost out? Am I gonna be forced to sell my land cheap to them? You know, that's what I'm saying. We just find out about this, and I was told when I bought my property, when I came to you guys to build my home, you know, in 10 years, you know, you'll be able to have that. You know, the idea of if anything is developed. If not, you know, right now I rent to my farmer cheap. You know, hey, you've been doing this for 60 years. Whatever you give me, whatever you make. If you guys, you know, this pandemic thing, he didn't make anything, so don't give me anything. It's fine. We take care of each other. It's the way it's supposed to be. But now we got all this people developing because they can. You guys give this to them because they can, because they have the codes. I know this is not a complaint session, but I'm making it one. I'm sorry. Got to vent. But it's sad because, like I said, I'm on a septic system. Now I'm going to be forced to be into possibly city water now.
We will ask that question for you.
Okay, because I know when we built, we were put in money for sidewalks. I think we put in money for city water. I know we had to put money in for our sidewalks though. So I didn't know if our account is covered for that, or is all that going to change? You know, like, are we gonna have to take out our septic?
I will have them
Okay.
answer that question for you. That's over.
Yeah. Okay. So then our zoning will probably will that stay the same for the residential? Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Is there anybody else here to speak against the petitioner? I need you to come up to the podium, please, and sign in. Good evening.
Good evening. I'm seeking clarification. I'm not specifically speaking against or for, so is this the proper time?
Yes.
Okay. My name is Fakina. I live at 750 North, 500 West, and I just wanted to see if I could get a better idea of exactly where these parcels are physically located.
You're at 750?
Yes.
And they may be able to kind of explain that to you.
Is that near there?
Yeah, well.
When we
It's-
close
it's
the
not-
public hearing, then we bring those
Excuse me.
questions
Oh,
back.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Sorry.
we'll have those questions answered for you.
Got it. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else here to speak against the petitioner? If not, I will close the public hearing and open to questions from the commission. Do you have the addresses? Is her house like right there on the corner?
Yeah, I'm not sure, but we're at the southeast corner of US 6 and Airport is where, I mean, just to give a little bit better, and I'm sorry I didn't say that earlier because, yeah, I did everyone makes an assumption and that was probably wrong. So, yeah, and I can turn this around. So, well.
So this right here is US 6. This is Airport. This is Kohl's department store. So I don't. Where do you line up relative to the? Right here. Okay. So yeah, right across the street from our southwest corner.
Could you do the same thing for us now?
Yeah, sure can. Yeah, I know. That's why it's on a pivot. Yeah.
There you go.
She is.
So where's US?
Right
Where's
there.
US
She
6?
should be right there.
This is 6 right here.
That's 6.
Yes.
This is
Okay.
Airport Road.
Okay.
This is Kohl's. Here's
Kohl's
the high
over there.
school, the IMAX theater,
All right.
and this is us here.
Thank you.
And then the other lady lives on 450, which is that road. It'll be behind your home.
Right. Straight back there. This in here. Yeah. This is Wolf Road right here. It goes all the way across.
The other was we had to properly notice, so one of the questions was, okay, just clarifying.
I'm not sure who would like to answer this question, but will she be required on 450 West to hook up to public water and sewer?
The sanitary board is typically not forced sanitary sewer connections, even if it falls within the distance between the home and the sanitary sewer line. That isn't to say that the board may make a decision in the future to change that opinion. But as it stands right now, it is not their practice to do so. If the resident, Mrs. Edmondson, if she'd want clarification on that, I would ask you to contact the field division or the sanitary sewer board, and you may possibly get that sort of opinion in writing or confirmation from them, so that so that question can at least be put to rest.
Okay.
You're welcome. In terms of the water, water is provided by Indiana American Water, so that's a private utility. So the city of Portage can't speak to that.
We, in our design, just to kind of talk about buffers and things of those natures, you can see where we've located the detention ponds. Obviously, there's natural flow as well, which is why we would put them there, but it provides an additional buffer to the homeowners. So we've tried to address that already as well, as best our ability.
Now, is this commercial up on the north end?
Yes, ma'am. That would be future out parcels, such as could be medical office, could be gas station, could be fast food, sit down. And to be perfectly honest, we would like sit down restaurant and things of those nature on the east side of US 6, or south side, I should say.
Now, what is the square footage on your townhomes?
Townhome square footages are in the, I think it's probably about 1,800 square feet, somewhere in that range. And again, we have a national home builder who's not represented here tonight because we're still in that process. So I think when we come in for plan approval and things like that in the future, we'll be able to provide a lot more information. information to you. But we're happy to answer what we can tonight.
They'll all be 2 stories? That's how it's drawn.
Yeah, they're actually, we've provided some of those examples, but they are 3-story, which includes the garage, and they're townhomes. So they're not 3-story apartments or anything like that.
The townhomes will go on which part here?
These are townhomes right
Okay.
here. So the idea is to transition from US 6 commercial into kind of a medium density townhome. One of the comments we received early on was no apartments or no, big 3-story, 4-story type apartments. We've obviously never presented or shown that. So the idea is to transition again from commercial, single family residential. Very rarely will abut any sort of commercial product. So that's why you're seeing this transition from higher density into lower density as we go further south.
So the single family homes are
It's everything,
on the south side
it's
and then
all of this is
the
single
east side
family.
there.
Yes,
Okay.
sir. Yeah, and so again, multiple entry points into the project allows for differentiation. And why we like this plan is you get multiple price points, right, for people who are looking to move to Portage. So not only are you looking at townhome product, which is great for young families, it's great for empty nesters. It's also, and then you also have single family homes for people to be able to move into those as well. So
I know the real estate market's fluctuating, but do you have like a rough, median price?
I almost want to use the attorney's line from earlier. I really don't.
Like I said, a rough.
Yeah, I mean, for us, it's again, our home builder partner will set those prices once they start moving forward.
Okay.
What about, I see a park area. Now, will there be a playground, something to, because obviously there'll be, if so, there'll be many kids and children, something to.
I think it's worth noting, we've provided a lot of open space. That's why we kind of greened up the plan to give you an idea. We're not stacking 10 pounds in a 5-pound bag here. We've got a walking trail that goes around the detention. We've got dog park, this park area, which I don't have the answer on a playground, but I'm assuming through our partner there, they do some sort of, they do that in every project that they have. We're just not showing it on this plan. There's also the 50-foot gas easement that runs across this property, so we've had to accommodate that in those plans. We have a little history on this site. We originally were under contract several years ago to build a large power center here, likes of the Hobby Lobbies and TJ Maxx's of the world, and we're not able to move forward on that. Most of the tenants who brought us here felt that their stores were cannibalized from other markets. We're not going to be able to move forward. So that's how we were introduced to the Tala family, was through that project. Since then, we've gotten to know Kurt and AJ and have stayed close with the Talas, and therefore we've moved forward with a different plan.
So how many townhomes will be in each yellow rectangular?
I believe it's about roughly 6 to 8 would be in each block. And that's very common in nothing unusual is very common in every townhome block. But if you go beyond a certain lineal feet, you have to start spring. There's a lot of different things you have to do from construction standards. So that's why you'll see these blocks the way they are. And then the reason they're 6 or 8 is just based on size and how that we can move them around on the site plan.
And then that between the two, it's like an alleyway or a parking area, right?
Yeah, so the
Wires
townhomes, you
color?
come in, you pull into your 2-car garage, which is, right there. Everybody has 2-car garages. And then the front of the buildings face each other, so it's a nice green area for everybody to kind of walk into.
So why the switch from R1 to M2? Do you believe that has to do with like the market, like what people are looking for? Or why not? I guess the question is like why the switch in that regard?
Yeah, it's a density issue as well. I mean, we're looking at price point and based on kind of that, I don't want to say entry, but entry level to medium entry level kind of home. We've done a lot of market studies. Our partner's done a lot of market studies, and this is the product that seems to be the greatest need within Portage at the time. Obviously, you have other builders like Lennar and things who are building very similar product as well.
And in particular, why the switch when it still is the single family? Why the switch from R1 to R4 in those spots?
R4 allows for us to get to the 50-foot lots, which is what they're looking to build.
You said something about cannibalizing?
Oh, those were retailers, yeah. So some of the reason that we weren't able to move forward with our previous project was cannibalization of existing store sales for other tenants. That's why that project did not move forward.
Do you mean within Portage or the surrounding area?
Surrounding areas, competing, not that this was a tenant, but like a TJ Maxx in Merrillville wouldn't do a store here because they have one in Michigan City, Valparaiso, and so they can't add an additional store in the marketplace.
And, I think that's it. I had a question written, but I think that got answered earlier.
Okay, I think I'm confused. So all of these, that is one home?
No.
Those are multiple townhomes. They're traditional townhome product where there's multiple homes in one block of building. Does that make sense? Everybody with a garage. Everybody. It's a
They're
attached,
side by side.
Side by side.
So on that one lot, there's 12 homes.
No, I don't see any that have 12, 7, 8, 8, 5. You want me to look at what you're looking at just so I can?
Sure.
Okay. I wanna.
So yeah, it's 14, 16.
That says on there 6 units.
So this is 12. 6 on this side?
No, that's 7 units and that's 6. So 13.
So
total.
13
That's correct.
on one.
That's correct.
Okay.
That's correct. But they're 2 separate buildings, if that makes sense. So then they share a common entry drive into their garages.
Have you done an engineering study on the drainage? This area is
Somebody a lot
damp.
smarter than me is going to answer.
So, we haven't got to the full-fledged engineering of that, but, we always design per ordinance. Whatever is coming off-site, we meet the ordinance to allow it to pass safely through the subdivision, into the detention basin and release, through a weir. I don't want to say, no, we haven't done it, but we know we have to and will and always do design per ordinance to meet drainage requirements.
So you didn't do any soil studies or anything like
The
that?
geotech soil borings yet? Not to date.
Okay.
That is in process. We will be, I think we actually will be doing that.
Geotech is complete.
The geotech is complete. I forgot about that. So the soil borings have been completed out there.
Okay.
So based on staff findings, they indicate that mixed-use residential use with a maximum of 25% commercial for the first quarter mile south of US Highway 6. Do we not having 25%?
It's
being used towards mixed.
Yes, ma'am. It's no more than 25%. We have roughly 11 acres on the northern end of the property, so we don't exceed 25%. And then I did mention that we had a previous plan that's not feasible based on market conditions for commercial property. So we do have roughly 10 and a half, 11 acres that is commercial, which stays underneath the 25%.
That stays, okay,
Under
so
25.
doesn't exceed the maximum.
That's correct.
25%. Okay.
So we're at about 314 homes.
Let me give you the exact number. 319, I believe, townhomes. 316 townhomes, I apologize.
We'll split it with you.
There we go. 316 and 189 single-family homes, which equals 505 homes on the 104-acre property. Again, we've spent I think we've done we've spent a tremendous amount of time trying to get a plan that makes a lot of sense and is consistent with what you guys are looking for. We've tried to address the retail corridor and what's happening there, tried to address connectivity for pedestrians, green space, open space requirements, price point differentials, connectivity, which I do think is important. Sterling Creek running through. That's something that it took us some time with Kurt to figure out how to make that work. At first we couldn't make it work. We reworked the plan, and then Pan Am running north-south, and then Veterans running across the front. So, yeah.
I just think it would be much easier. I know you don't have your builder set yet.
We do have a builder partner that's, yeah.
But
I just can't release
nothing
it.
that you can share with us.
That's right. That's
So,
right.
I mean, I don't, in this amount, 316 homes is a lot of homes. So are they all the same? I don't see any variation for a two-story and a ranch.
Oh, yeah, they have multiple model homes and different
I know,
sizes
but
and
that's not
variations.
what we're approving. We're
You're
approving.
approving a rezone, that's
We
correct,
are
yeah.
approving a rezone
Yes, ma'am.
with this amount of homes on it.
That's correct, with this density of homes, that's correct.
Correct.
And then we will come back in for,
But then it's too late. We can't, if we approve you, then we can't come back and say, okay, well, we don't want you to have 314, we only want you to have 275. Once we approve
Right.
this zoning, agreeing to the 314 homes.
I think what you're approving is the rezone, which allows up to a number of.
Correct.
And then as we bring our site plan in for approval, that's where you would make those.
But they don't have unilateral decision-making power.
Right, we.
Got it,
If
understood.
your up-to number is 80, and their comfortable number is 60,
Right.
making numbers up.
Right,
They don't have the-
understood.
The code
Oh, I see.
allows it, they don't have the authority to back it to back.
I see.
Correct.
Yeah.
So I just think that's where a lot of the information, and not just 314 homes. The same. I have to look at the same because that's what the drawing shows. And that's what we are approving. Just for me, it's hard.
Yeah.
I know, just speaking on the DRC end, being this body's representative for the DRC and having been in a meeting with these guys, they seem like a sincere group of people. They're working really hard with the city. And I know that we've talked and we've discussed a little bit, and I've appreciated everything you guys have done in that process so far. The city has a comprehensive plan that we have to consider when it comes to what we recommend to the city council for a zoning change. There's criteria about how we're supposed to weigh that and how valuable something, or I should say, how, there's a word I'm looking for, it's not quite special, but how significant something has to be when it can really go against that plan. With a tremendous respect to these guys, I just don't think we're there yet. So I hope that they can get to that point, but at this point, I don't think that we're really at a spot where I would feel comfortable as a member of this board telling the city council we think we're ready to make that big switch from the R1 to the M2, and to some extent the R1 to the R4. If that makes sense.
Right. Can I have Greg talk about that?
Absolutely, just have him sign in so we know everybody
Yes,
that
ma'am,
spoke.
understood. He's a little more versed than I am on that, and I think he's good.
Yeah, thanks, and thanks, Austin. I appreciate your time at DRC, and let me just quick sign in here. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, so that, the one thing I want to show you here is what we did is we went into the comprehensive plan, the 2009 comprehensive plan, grabbed out, this is page 28 out of the comprehensive plan, and we overlaid it onto the site so we can kind of share with you what we're looking at. So the 2009 city's comp plan plans for the northern half of the site here to be a mixed use, which is right here. Then the southern half of the site plans for low density residential, which allows for 1 to 6 units per acre. So our R4 portion of the property is about 3.75 units per acre. So this is calling this, this is also part of the south side district. The southern half of the parcel is the south side district. The south side district, which is not color coded on here, actually calls for this to be medium density residential. Medium density residential actually calls for 6 to 10 units per acre, substantially higher than where we're at.
what you're asking for, not what it's zoned for currently.
Right, that was, yeah, the future land use plan. So I'm just trying to, I'm sharing what the city's vision was for the site and what is driving our design. The mixed use portion, there's nothing called out for density in the mixed use. Logic says you're gonna step back density coming off your commercial corridor in your US 6 corridor back into your 6 to 10 units per acre. So we're likely at 6 to 10 units per acre or greater, right? Because you're going to have a step down in density. Our M2 is significant, is significantly under 10 units. We're at 7.67 units per acre. So when you look at our design through the guidance of Kurt and AJ of wanting to stay back from being too dense, our design is driven directly from your future land use plan and not pushing the envelope in density, but rather finding a program that works with lots of common space, common area green space, with the park. Again, significant investment into the city by putting in 3 collector roads, pretty significant. These all terminate as planned in the future land use plan. That's a pretty big deal. We are taking the hit to bring this all the way across to Wolf Road and to terminate at Wolf Road, which is the city's wishes. We're also, again, connecting Pan Am through here and terminating it at Sterling Creek, which is also the city's wishes in the future land use plan. Third, as Andy has mentioned, we're taking veterans the rest of the way across the property as wished in the future land use plan. So we've made a lot of changes to the plan through Kurt and AJ's wish, through their guidance in our meetings to achieve all of these goals of the city, which is kind of how we've designed our overall plan. And with that, the spirit of the future land use plan is obviously green space, vehicular connectivity, pedestrian connectivity. We've targeted all those things, creating a nice corridor when you come into the townhomes where you can see all the way back to the retention area to really make it pop, really make it something special. All these things have been taken into consideration in the design as well to achieve those goals that are laid out in the city's comp plan.
If I can ask AJ something, and I apologize if I didn't catch this in DRC, but I felt like, and I thought this going in, that I had seen a map where more of this land looked commercial, but I guess it was residential. And was I confusing the future use with the current zoning at the time?
No, there's, the comp plan has a corridor plan for US Highway 6, and at the time it showed an extension of that C2 zoning, similar to what Coles has developed as, continuing east to Pan Am. The future land use map, however, shows this being mixed use residential with up to 25% commercial at the north end, and the balance of the property being low density residential. The current zoning is R1.
Okay. Gotcha. I want to make sure I understood that. I mean, neighborhoods, they do cost the city money as well. We want residents, and they of course bring in, the tax base, but also with the neighborhood comes, the services like the, fire, the police patrolling, the street department doing the garbage, collection, the pickup, the plowing. When it comes to, making any time we're talking about making a new neighborhood, and especially when we're increasing density, it's not so much this board's responsibility to factor that in at this stage of the game, but it's something we should be aware of when we're talking about switching a zoning, because what can come along with that as well. And you kind of put, again, and like I say, I absolutely agree that you guys have been moving in the right direction. I just, so far, don't think we're there yet to say that we're at that spot where we're ready as a plan commission to tell the city council we think that this is ready to go. Because as Denise said, once the land is rezoned, we lose the ability as a plan commission to direct a lot. Because as was said by the attorney earlier today, once something is zoned a certain way, once the permitted uses are there, there's only so much we can say no to. If they want to build,
they have to be within the code.
They got to be within the code. We can't, if we don't like the code,
we are stuck as a body, because the city council usually is the one that writes the code. We can send things to them. But if a plan meets the code, we can't say no based on that. And so what we're potentially giving away right now, I don't mean that in the bad way, I just mean is potentially, are we gonna tell the city council, we're ready for you guys to put those limits on what we can approve? If that makes sense to the rest of the body.
I think I keep misunderstanding you because you say your density is 6 to 7 per acre.
So, yeah, just to be clear, this is the townhome area right here.
Correct.
Just the townhome area, acreage, just this acreage is 7.67 units per acre. The R4.
Okay, no wait, because we have 13 on one lot. So every lot is an acre?
So if you take all of the townhome units?
No, I'm talking about, you said per acre. So lot 1 has 13 townhomes on it.
Okay.
So that should be one, right at the corner of,
Not every lot is 1 acre.
Okay.
I know, but we have 13 homes on one where you say
On a
your
lot.
density is 6, we're just counting our roads and the ponds.
The unit is, the calculation is based off, so the townhome area is 41.22 acres. And obviously that's, we said 316 townhomes. So you do the calculation, that's where we get the units per acre. And
I know, but it's not really per acre because it also counts all the roads, it counts the ponds, it counts the park, it counts the open space. So that's not actually per acre, your density. It's per acre of the whole parcel.
Right. So the MT ordinance is 3 to 16 dwelling units per lot. We are less than 16 dwelling units.
I know.
So we are meeting the code there as well.
I know. I'm with Austin. You know, it's just a lot of what I see, 2-story homes without more information. And I apologize, because I've heard you guys are really good, but once we give that approval, we can't take that step back.
So what, let me understand then, what are you
I'm
seeking?
sorry.
Yeah. What further are you seeking from us to be able to make a decision?
Well, you talk about mixed housing, and I don't see any ranch-style homes. So if they were all about 1,800 square feet, that would be a 900 square foot ranch, which is not very big. I'd like to see a variation. I personally think this is too dense, and we don't know if it's one style or 5 styles. If it's one style, I'm very afraid of it.
In the townhouse section?
In the townhomes.
Well, townhomes,
What's a townhome?
I mean, yeah, it's a
What-
shared wall.
It's what
They're
would be
gonna-
similar, right by the post office. When you go out on that street, you
They're
dead
all
end.
little 2-story.
Those are all townhomes.
Townhomes, right. And that's what you don't want to see?
I'd like to see a variation. I mean, that's what, a 12 unit? Is that a 12 unit by the post office? 10, 12?
There might be 10, one of the two, maybe 10.
Okay. But we're talking 316 of them together. And in real estate, the more, what's the word I want? Variety that there is, the higher to protect your sale value. If you're living in a home that's the same to 315 other people, that doesn't protect your sale value. Is that a good way to say it?
There might be areas of the city where the city council wants higher density, and in fact, previous city councils have. That's why when we look at the city's plan and the current zoning, it maps out what they wanted. Again, I don't mean the current group, but when zoning has been like divvied out, there's spots around the city where we want different degrees of density, or where we want like lower degrees of density and the type of homes that we want there. In the case of this property, it was zoned for R1, which is the least dense that you have. And so to go from R1 to M2, which is multifamily, that's a really big jump. Going from R1 to R4 is a little bit different. I'm not saying that that doesn't have its own issues.
Yeah.
But it's just, and please understand, I'm not trying to argue with you. I'm just trying to make sure. We have some new people on our commission, or newer, I should say. So some of this just kind of goes back a little bit, make sure people understand. We're being asked to ask the city council to do something really, really big. We've done this before, but sometimes those are smaller changes. Going from, especially we often get R1 to R2. And that's because R1 to R2 is often a very realistic change when you're talking about things like space between homes, value of homes, things like that. To do something this big that's going to go so contrary to what the city's plan has been, it's kind of like we don't necessarily want to tell the city council, yes, go ahead and do it, because once they do it, when they come back with a site plan and things, we don't no longer have the ability to tell them what we want if what they want to do matches the city code. That's not an accusation. You guys have been awesome. It's just to say that we need to keep in mind how much we're being asked to give up in the long run with this land.
If I could, I mean, and again, full transparency, and I appreciate the comment from you and from Jim and Talis. I mean, we're here to be your partner, right? I mean, we're not here to just stuff this down your throat and call it a day. That's not the type of business people we are. It's not the way we want to manage ourselves. I want to be able to answer all of your questions. One of the comments that you've mentioned about R1 is, that's not the future comp plan, though. That's a current zoning. So you have a comp plan that says, hey, this isn't going to be R1 forever. It's going to change, and here's the parameters of what our comp plan should look like for the future. What we're saying is, if we're comparing ourselves to R1, which it is today, you would never get anything developed because that's not how it's done. When you have a future comp plan, we've looked at that plan, accommodated all of those items, and that's why we're seeking the rezoning, because we're under what's required or asked of a future developer or purchaser for the land. So it's different. It's not a comparison of R1 to R4, R1 to M2. It's our comparison of rezone to the future comp plan. So just to,
and I completely agree with that. It's not appropriate to debate, argue, nor is that intended here. It's just to say that explaining to them when it comes to the different levels and where we go.
Understand.
And it's completely understood that future plan is to say that this isn't going to be R1 forever. That's most of the neighborhoods in Portage started as R1 and then got changed
and then
to
adjusted.
R2.
That's correct.
And that's part of our process as a city in most circumstances, that the city has some control and the Plan Commission has some input over what kind of neighborhood gets made. And that's what we're here looking at tonight, is how much input are we willing to give away right now? I wish I had a better word, and I apologize, because that sounds very adversarial.
No.
That's not my
it's
intent.
not. It's not.
Yeah.
That's not where we're at.
Yeah.
I think we just want more information, and the commercial was supposed to go equal with Kohl's. In the original, because I was on the Planning Commission when that's when I started, and I thought, oh my God, we're getting a Kohl's, we're going to get a TJ Maxx, and we're going to
getting everything, right? Yeah.
And I'm part of it. But yeah, I just.
Can you show me on the map where you want to change? You're requesting a change of zoning from R1 single family residential C2 medium to large scale commercial. Can you show me on the map where that's at?
So this would be the C2. That's your commercial zoning up on the road. That's going to be your restaurants and items like that. Everything from here down, right in this area, is your M2, which is your transitional townhome product. That's going to be your M2 rezone. And then everything here that you see in this gray, that is your R4. So again, it's a step down as you work your way south.
So you're saying the entire property is originally zoned R1?
That's what it's been, yeah.
As of right now?
It's agricultural, of course, because it's being farmed, but it's R1. Again, future comp plan shows that it's
and
going
our
to be.
future comp plan may go and say, I want to stay at R2.
It very could.
So, that's why it's the future.
So I guess if I was you, okay, because, and maybe that's what you're doing, but it's not meeting, maybe this isn't the right forum, okay, is where do you go to change the comp plan for Portage? I mean, basically that's what you're asking, Okay, is this the step that he goes to change that?
That's not what he's asking.
That's not what he's asking.
No.
No, the back and forth here is whether or not our current comp plan is being met by what what the petitioner is presenting at this point in time.
Which is not, is what I understand.
That's definitely my
That's at
view.
least the argument.
Pardon me?
That's definitely my view, at least, is that it's
Right.
not currently being met.
So I guess, and my question is, because to me, that's a land, I would like to see that property developed.
Right.
It's been sitting there forever doing nothing.
Yeah.
Okay, so I guess my question is, how do you approach Portage to do something with that parcel?
He comes to us.
Yeah, and so.
This is his stuff here.
And so we've gone to, I mean, it's important to note, and I've said it, but, you know, we've spent considerable amount of time. We're not coming in blindly. We spent time with Kurt and AJ going through this plan. Again, we're on probably our 15th or 20th site plan at this point. So all he's doing is pointing out the comp plan and how it relates, and that's it. But yeah, and this is our next step. We originally, there was a contemplation of PD, and that got moved to, this should be a rezone. So we've gone through the beginning of the PD process. We've now gone through we're going through, as you know, the rezone process. So, you know, out of our DRC meeting, only comment that we really had was the commercial which we've discussed, and then one comment from fire, which we also have discussed. Other than that, we had no comments coming out of DRC.
There's no, the C2, medium to large scale commercial, there's nothing planned for that. It's just, you're just mapping out an area, so let's make it that.
We have multiple interested parties for out parcels, but those would be sit down or fast casual restaurants or small shops, things like this. Other items, like other things you see on US 6, very consistent to what you're seeing on US 6. And that's, you know, Realty Link in general is traditionally a retail developer. That's what we've done. That's what brought us here in the first place. And so this transition is.
Do you know when your builder may be on board?
I mean, he's fully on board. We don't have a signed contract, so we can't. That's correct. We have a fully negotiated deal. They're ready to go. Again, our hope was that we would have broke ground last year. We've been trying to be very. Yeah, well, and I mean, we've been trying to figure it out, right? Our plan would be, assuming we can get through this process, would be to break ground in the spring and be delivering lots, and homes would be built over the summer.
Did you say, and I apologize, you said this, but I missed a small thing. Did you say that, I know that it can go up to, or at least the plan involves going up to 25%, you know, commercial?
Right.
Did you say it's currently at 11%, or did you say 11 acres?
11 acres. So
what
it
is
would
the
not
percentage of that?
The property is 84 acres, so, you know.
So I think one of the biggest problems the board's having tonight is the way we're going about it. We're going in, we've got over 100 acres, we're trying to get into 3 zoning districts.
Right.
And it gets very confusing, which is why we normally have a PUD or a PD plan, because when we're in here with that initial plan, everybody knows what we're getting.
Yep.
As the attorney sitting here, part of my problem is the townhome section, the zoning required for that has all kinds of other uses within it. It's maybe a whole lot less palatable to this group or the city council.
Sure.
So, you know, I guess my question would be is, why aren't we going down the PD route?
Well, we started on the PD route and we're redirected to a rezone route.
Is it because you hit the roadblock of we don't think your PD's meeting the comprehensive plan?
No.
Okay. What was your understanding of what your problem with the PD was?
There was nothing. There was nothing substantial enough for us to go down the PD. The PD has to have special circumstances to meet the PD, and we were told that was not the case. So we stopped, restarted, and moved into a rezone. Said this was a straight rezone. Again, we're.
So what would be the commitments on the uses within the townhome area? Are we willing to ratchet down the zoning requirements? I mean, the allowed uses within the zone that you're asking for?
Yeah, I mean, we're going to M2, which again, we're looking at a townhome concept. That's what we're not trying to.
The problem with the zoning goes back to the earlier comment of if you're allowed to have 60 and they only like 40.
Again,
now hold on.
Yep.
The issue with the zoning you're asking for is if we read out the other allowed uses, there's gonna be a whole bunch of allowed uses in there that they're not going to be comfortable with.
And we would certainly address all those, absolutely. Yeah, this is, again,
Well,
full
we don't
disclosure.
have it tonight on like some sort of a presentation commitment to say, we're asking for this zone. These are the uses within that zoning district that we are already agreeing that we're never gonna do. Because right now, we don't have a commitment on who's building the townhomes, right? We're close, but we're not quite there, right?
They're not at this
If they-
meeting, that's correct.
What's that?
They're not at this meeting, that's correct.
Right, okay, but the issue is, well, they're not at the meeting, so that's what we know. If they rezone it to your request, if you guys sell the property, saying you would, but if you do, those could be apartment complexes sitting out there in that zoning district. Correct?
That's right.
Right? So that's
I'm
what-
tracking your logic.
So back to whether it's PD or a rezone, like this way, part of the problem of doing it this way on the rezone is that unless we get very specific within each zoning district request change, and then go through it with a chisel and wordsmith our way through what's allowed and not allowed, I don't know how they're gonna progress off of where they're at right now, because that's what we're bouncing around in between.
Understood that.
And so, which brings me back to if we came in with a PUD or PD, whatever we wanna call it, at least at that point in time, on this blank canvas of, over 100 acres, there's gotta be enough mixed use in there for your designers to be able to come up with something significant enough to make that work. And if we were sitting here with a PD at that point in time, we wouldn't be having exactly how many townhomes are on this lot versus that lot, what else could you do here, or a little bit of sticker shock, which I understand, from R1 to M1 or whatever, the case may be. I understand it's R1 now. The comp plan clearly indicates it's not gonna be R1 down the road. But the problem becomes is that from here to there, how do we make sure that whatever ends up being here is what, because you may not be the developer.
Well, I will be, I'm the owner, but yeah, that's correct. And listen, I understand where you're coming from, of course, and again, our M2 accommodates the townhomes. We've done this many different ways when we've done this over the years, where we've said, hey, listen, what are the stipulations associated with that M2 rezone? We're building townhomes. We're not building a 4-story apartment complex. We're happy to say that this will not be a 4-story apartment complex. We're happy to say it won't be the 7 other things that are allowed in M2. That's fine. We're looking for that kind of direction because, again, this plan isn't a shot in the dark. It's a fully vetted plan from a building perspective, from a zoning and a variance perspective. We're looking for, again, for that approval so that we can continue on with the site plan approval process. So to your point, again, full transparency. Happy to share exactly what we're doing, which is what we've come here tonight so you guys can see. And if there's concern over other uses within the M2 zoning, we're happy to address. Happy to.
I think the main concern is the density and the type of townhouses that you're going to build. And if there's going to be a variation.
Yeah.
I personally think this is too dense.
Okay.
I wouldn't want to live there.
What made you choose so many acres as M2 versus R4?
Again, us and the builder, through our market study, has shown that there's a tremendous need for that kind of housing within the Portage area.
When you say tremendous need, do you mean a lot of people want it and they're not
that's
getting
what we're
it?
understanding is that you have a lot of people moving out of the Chicago area. You guys are, I don't have to sell that on you. You guys are seeing that every single day.
Right.
And a lot of people who are new home buyers can't afford to buy in the community. Therefore, these townhome product, that's why it's very popular, because it's easy financing and it's a price point that most people can get into. And even though 319 is, or 316, sorry, is quite a bit, it's not a lot when it compares to the overall Portage. Understanding your thought and your opinion, of course, as well. Does that help answer your question? Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, the
Would
goal
you
is
be in agreement to table this until you can give us more explanation on the different styles and if there's gonna be ranches and
Yeah, I mean,
two-stories.
all the single family will be 2-story, 1-story mixes. It's
No, I'm
all,
talking about the,
yeah, the townhomes won't, they won't be.
they're all gonna be 2 stories.
That's right, they'll all be, yeah, that's correct. They don't, unless I'm wrong, but that's right. Everything will be, townhomes aren't typically built in that ranch style, they're typically built for density.
Any more questions?
So there's no renditions of any of the townhome look?
No, and correct me if I'm wrong, because I am trying to understand, there's also a site plan approval process, so we don't know if you run that concurrent or if,
But it's because
wanna
we're
make
giving
sure-
you a complete zoning change.
Yeah, so we need to,
We need some more information before we could make,
Under normal circumstances on a rezone, you would have enough information, but I will say that in this particular rezone, it's significant enough, and affects enough acres, and it's such a significant change from what it is currently to what you're proposing, that's why they're asking for additional information as opposed to a 5-acre outline that's getting rezoned and it's going from C1 to C4.
Sure.
That's the issue.
I'm just trying to understand, so the commercial zoning on US 6, there's no real opposition to that. It's really the M2 is where I'm trying to understand and make sure.
I mean, that is something that, I mean, I would love to see addressed a little more because, like I say, we love all our neighborhoods in Portage. I think that's great, but on the whole, neighborhoods do cost a city when it comes to services and when it comes to the traffic, when it comes to things that have any people moving in. Also, and there's nothing we can do about this, this is just Indiana, cities get revenue and they get different amounts of revenue from residential, commercial, things like that.
Right.
So anytime that we're turning something over into residential that can be developed, that could potentially be commercial, which again, this property has the potential to be up to about 25% commercial. And I understand your guys' concerns too. If you're not selling something, if it's not working for you, that should be factored in as well. It's just, in it, potentially we're giving up the opportunity if, and again, I'm not trying to sound like, some guy claiming that better times are ahead with this. It's just to say that, like, I can't see the future there. But if it became conducive for more commercial use there, it could be an increase of revenue for the city compared to what the city is going to be spending to have a new neighborhood there, be it multifamily or R of some kind. And that's something I think the city and the city council should consider as well. But we have to respect the fact that they have been trying, and I believe if you guys had been able to get this sold as commercial sooner, it already would be.
Absolutely.
So we need to be realistic about that as well. It's just important for us to know that there is also a revenue impact by making a change like this.
That's fair.
Yeah, I'm looking on the drawing here, and I can't even blow it up to see the size of the individual residential lots.
Yeah.
Okay, to give me an idea how big the lot is.
Yeah, 50-foot wide lots is what we have, yeah.
Yeah, and that seems really small to me.
That's what, yeah, and we're seeing that, again, by this home builder, and they're competing, like the Olthoffs and those guys, they also build 50-foot lots, things like that.
is your
as well.
builder from Cherville, Dyer area?
Can't comment on where. Again, it's a national home builder. It's very similar in concept and size and scope to a Lennar or something along those lines. And we're not being secretive about it. We're not at liberty. I would feel
understand.
foolish to say their name, and that would be upsetting to them, and that's not really the right way I want to go about doing business either. That's all. So I'm not trying to be that way at all. I just want to make sure, again, C2, the R4, I want to be, we put a lot of time and effort into this plan, and I appreciate everybody's comments. So we're certainly not combative. We're excited about being here. We're going to get a plan that makes some sense. I just want to make sure when we come back that we're looking and seeking good direction from everyone. And so it is a big parcel. I mean, when you take 500 units and the commercial corridor, it's about a $200 million property kind of tax gain. I mean, it's a major deal. So this is not a 20-acre or 10-acre site and you're going to do 30 homes on it. It's a serious game change for US 6, for the corridor district and all those things. So thank you for taking so much time. Honestly, it's
No, we need to take as much time as we need to get it done correctly. And I just want to make sure that if by chance you were denied, you could not come back for a year.
We're gonna go to city council on the rezone.
without our recommendation.
It's going to city council with favorable or unfavorable recommendation.
Okay. Okay, so it will go to city council. If you brought us more information, it might be easier for everybody.
Yeah. So, understood.
Okay.
Try. Yeah.
We can vote tonight for a favorable recommendation as it is, or an unfavorable recommendation to the city council as it is. We're asking for more information.
Yeah.
So if we tabled it until we could get that, we could make, I think, a more informed decision. And if you made a list that it'll never be apartment buildings, it'll never be
Yeah.
leased, you know,
I think we
everything
can-
that you could do in an M2.
So I think we could agree to table until the next meeting. We'll go through the M2 allowances and we'll strike all of the items that are not of interest to us, to be honest, and
Correct.
bring that. And then we will do our very best to bring in examples of what the product would look like. Would that help address most of the concerns that we brought up
That's
today?
what
I know we're
what
working
I-
around the room. I'm just trying to make sure that we're doing what you're asking, so we don't come in and you say, oh, geez, Andy and Greg, you guys really missed the ball here. And we
Right.
just kicked another 30 days.
Yeah, I think from the density standpoint, all right, we need much more detail on that. Quite honestly, a 50-foot lot seems very narrow to me, unless you're putting it, houses all this way versus the other way. And if you're trying, you know, how are you adding the driveways, that kind of stuff, and a 50-foot lot seems that just seems very tight to me.
Yeah, and they are. They're more entry level, so it's not your, yeah, understood.
Yeah, but I'm not sure
Okay.
that's part of our overall Portage plan to have all entry level homes. So it's you got to give us something to work with to help you out.
Okay. This is incredibly helpful. Thank you so much. I mean, we're trying to figure it out as well, and again, we're kind of coming here trying to be really good partners to you guys.
I don't think there's anybody on the board that doesn't want to see that land developed. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
You just got to develop in the right way.
Okay.
May I have a motion to table?
I'd make a motion that we table to the next scheduled meeting.
I'll second it.
We have a motion and we have a second.
Austin Bonta,
Yes.
Carrie Gunning,
Yes.
Gina Geishurst,
Yes.
Hortensia Moreno,
Yes.
Luke Wyman,
Yes.
Denise Little.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
We want to help you. We don't want to just,
Yeah, I'm with you. Thank you
Okay.
so much. Yeah, no, listen, I'm not going to go pound the table. I'm thankful for all the commentary.
Pound the table's gonna be a new phrase. I think in this board.
I'm gonna have a martini. Any old business? Thank you. If not, may I have a motion to adjourn?
We'll make a motion to adjourn.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
We'd like to speak about something if we might. I know it's late, but this concerns us.
Okay, I will come up, sign in. The public hearing is closed, but I will let you come up and speak.
As long as I can walk up here. First, hearing aids.
You're just like my husband.
First of all, thank you for realizing that you're going to need more firemen and policemen and medical services. The more guys you allow build houses. And ma'am, I'm a certified residential appraiser. So.
What's your name?
Ted Uselak.
Oh, I'm Denise Little.
I'm sorry, my name's Theodore Uzelak.
I'm sorry,
Senior.
before I accuse you of any identity theft, are you related to a different Ted Uzelak?
Okay.
Oh.
As far as townhouses go, ma'am, they're not all 2 stories. They do have ranch styles. They're called patio homes, half duplexes, and also just townhomes. Just for your knowledge. I live on Candy Avenue. Okay, do you know where Candy Avenue is? North of Old Porter Road, by the Red Carpet Lounge.
Okay.
There's a woods there.
Yes.
November 5th, we were all woken up by the sound of chainsaws and other equipment. We have a subdivision going behind our house. There's a subdivision that's going to go in between Driftwood, Tanya Street to the east, 20 to the north, Old Porter Road to the south, or actually the railroad tracks to the south. We were not notified that a subdivision is going into our area. Now, you guys are the Planning Commission. Can you tell us why none of us were notified?
Because the plan hasn't come to the Planning Commission yet, and so there hasn't been an approved plan, there hasn't been an approved subdivision in the area you're talking about.
Okay. We understand that these guys can cut down any tree they want on their property. We understand that. Now, when they go from Route 20 in a straight line to Old Porter Road, the width of a street.
I'm not suggesting there isn't going to be a plan for it coming.
Oh, yeah, it's coming.
I'm not suggesting that. I'm just saying the reason, to answer your original question, the reason why the residents haven't been notified
Okay.
is because that first step down the subdivision control hasn't been taken.
Okay, thank you. All right, now, we also understand that all the new subdivisions in this area are getting green spaces, just like those gentlemen said. And all the appraisals I do in new subdivisions like Hidden Waters, they have green areas. We would like to talk to the developer. We would like a buffer zone between our back fences and their new houses, the rear of their sites. This is all woods. We all moved there for the woods. At one time, Bethlehem Steel owned that property.
Mm-hmm.
And we were told it would never be developed. Well, surprise.
Yeah.
Nobody thought Bethlehem was going to go down.
But when we do have the public hearing, you can come in
Well,
and
that's
put
why
that,
what we thought this was.
Yeah, you can come in and say, I really want to maintain 10, 15 feet of woods between your development and my development.
Right.
So that's going in that wooded area between
If you drive down Old Porter Road,
I
there's
know
the
where
woods
it's
on
at.
both sides of the street.
Tanya, and then it's on the north side.
Yes, ma'am, and the south side towards the railroad tracks.
And is that Greenwood? No.
Greenwood.
It is Greenwood.
Green Tree.
Green tree, okay.
Then Tanya to the west.
Correct. Okay, so I know where it's at.
It's entirely wooded. We called our councilman. He didn't know anything about it. He contacted the builder, who, by the way, bought this property 2.5 months ago. They showed him supposedly a drawing of the subdivision. And they said, Candy Avenue is just going to go into a cul-de-sac. Well, why would they start on 20 going south if there's just going to be a cul-de-sac there? They could have started on Old Porter Road. We don't need the extra traffic. Because believe me, people will be coming off of 20 right down into a subdivision and going to Old Porter Road.
This is where you get to, in the open forum, you get to speak
Okay, well,
the situation.
apparently you want me to be quiet, so I will.
We're not aware of any of this.
Yes.
This is just like you owning 5 acres somewhere.
Absolutely.
And you decide you want to develop it.
Oh, yeah.
You're not telling anybody, you say, I'm going to develop it.
We would
First
just
thing you
like
do
to
is
know it was gonna
cut the
happen.
trees down, okay? So you're going to cut the trees down, right? And you're going to have some sketches made up of, this is what I think it's going to look like. Until they come to the city, okay, those sketches mean nothing.
Okay.
Okay, because they have to meet all the, just like for all the other people petition here, they have to meet the plans. Okay?
Alrighty.
And so we know nothing, I know nothing
I
about
didn't
it,
know
I can tell you
about
that.
Yeah.
If I can.
A lot of people don't know about it.
Well, we don't,
And
because
that's-
it's somebody
part.
cutting down property or land, and that's perfectly okay. I mean, they can cut all the trees they want on their own land, it's like you said, all right? Nothing wrong with that. But until they come to the city and say, hey, this is what we want to do.
When they come to the city, are the people that border that woods going to be notified there's going to be a subdivision put in?
On behind
All four
them?
corners, except the railroad.
The answer is yes.
Even if they have to jump
Have
over
to
the
be.
railroad, right? I had to jump over Willow Creek. I did.
Every abutting property on both the north and south side of Old Port Road will be notified. Tanya.
Candy, Tanya, and Driftwood.
Wood, 20, across 20.
I know where Red Carpet Lounge is. Don't get to that.
There's probably a notification of the
Okay. All right, well, thank you.
residents and commercial properties.
I appreciate that. Thank you. I'm sorry if I took your time. I know it's late.
That's okay.
No worries, okay.
I don't know if any of these are.
No, we're gonna set up a.
Never mind. I'm sorry.
No,
That's
you're
great.
fine, you're
Thank
fine,
you.
you're fine.
How do we, if I could just ask a quick question, how do we know when it comes before you? Is it posted in the?
So
You're-
can I go?
Go, you go.
If you're an adjacent property owner, you'll receive a notice, an official notice from the city announcing that there's a public hearing. So that's how you'll be notified when they make the application for primary plat. When that's gonna happen, I'm not sure. We do not right now have an application that's been submitted to the department for that subdivision. You're welcome. Yes, ma'am.
You said there was a railroad track behind or between the properties?
No.
No?
South.
Okay.
So the.
Old Porter Road goes through it, and then to the south, there's a railroad track.
Bethlehem Steel owned properties both on the north and south side of property. It was the old rail spur that went up into Kurtzman Sand. So the property that's been purchased by the developer, there's acreage north of Old Porter and south of Old Porter. The acreage south of Old Porter is adjacent to the, I think it's Norfolk Southern, the Old Porter branch.
Okay.
That runs along Old Porter Road as you go east into Porter and Burns Harbor. There's adjacent properties on the other side of that railroad track, so a portion of Capital Estates. I know Chris.
It's a live track.
It is a live track.
It's a live track. So that track wouldn't stop the people on the other side of it from being notified.
That's correct. They'll be notified as well.
They still will be notified because they're even on the other side. Okay.
Yeah, we try to get across all public right of ways.
Yeah.
So that notice is given to those adjacent properties.
But that's when they,
Make application for primary plat.
okay, then we get the notification.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay,
So you could be here again.
yeah, oh, goody.
It'll be earlier in the agenda.
See you next year.
Happy New Year's.
In regard to the presentation, this is the first time I've been to any of these meetings, obviously because it's right in our backyard.
Right.
And of course, surprise, surprise. And I find it very interesting, but a little hard to follow. As one of the men here said, the plot parcel number, great, if you know what you're talking about. But to be more specific about a road or a location, even the one woman who was adjacent to the development at Coles, she wanted to know where her own property was related to this new process of a development. So I don't think there's a clarification here, or maybe there needs to be a better clarification.
A lot of parcels will not have an address
Well, it could be just.
until it's developed.
Yeah, but it could be something that just gives you a location in terms of that.
Borders.
A bordering, yeah.
So, and you heard the petitioner, they should have made that part of the presentation straight away.
Yeah.
Even you heard members of the Planning Commission, you know,
Trying to
you gotta
follow.
orient yourself to the graphic that they're standing up there
It
with.
gets confusing.
I think sometimes it's good to remind the petitioner, hey, at the beginning of this presentation, can you give us the common address or at least the southeast corner of X intersection? Absolutely, and you heard him, I mean, he apologized, he knew
Yeah.
he should have made that
Absolutely,
earlier.
because you're trying to follow with things and you're trying to listen and you want to get the right information. So you don't want to get caught up with where are we. The other thing I have a suggestion of, and I don't know whether it's possible, but when they came to present, and importantly, you are the Plan Commission, so, and of course, this parcel has to do with near Coles, their plan was facing you. We're just listening without any kind of visual. I see a big TV right here. I'm wondering if there's some way, and to move people closer, we are not separate people, we're a community, We have a
Yes.
plan commission that works for us, and the people here are like loads farther away. Let's know who we are. I didn't even know who you were until I know Austin because I've seen him. But other people, I don't know. And I apologize because I'm getting involved because it's involving us. And to me, if you've got a TV going here, everybody needs to see and know what's going on.
That's a great idea. I agree right away. And please understand,
Yeah.
government is government, so of course progress sometimes doesn't come as innovatively as other things. And we do have petitioners. Sorry, I got to be careful with the politics end.
I understand, yeah.
But we do have petitioners that come in sometimes with a lot of creativity. They care a great deal. We even have, it's rare, we have petitioners who have come in and I felt kind of bad for this one because it didn't work out the way they wanted to. They even sent out letters once, not the petitioners you saw today. We've had one that sent out letters to like a whole neighborhood beyond who they were required to notify and had like a town hall meeting with them ahead of time. It still didn't work out. They didn't impress, but that's its own thing.
But there was a good effort.
But as far, oh, absolutely.
There was an excellent effort.
And understand too, we have rules as a plan commission, some of which are set by city ordinance, written by the city council, and then we have our own rules. So your idea for, as far as what we can require a petitioner to do for a presentation, we would have to check with our council, which I'm gonna do, like now that you've said it and now they kind of got it going.
Isn't it?
It's to see, we need to make sure we know what we can require of a petitioner.
Yeah.
Because some things are great ideas, but we're not allowed to force it. Some things we are, just hasn't been thought about yet, or in the way wheels have turned, hasn't necessitated it yet. And if I can say to you just personally, thank you for coming. One of the big, I think, myths is that we don't want people here. If it was a packed house every time, we would be absolutely fine with it, as long as people are respectful, and you guys were tremendous, you know, with that. We want people to be informed, but there's only so much we can do. We don't work at this full time. We're paid, I think, $300 each a year to be here. We're doing this because we love the city of Portage, and we also got to make sure that as a board.
No, we're paid $150 to be here.
Oh, I thought it was 250 checks.
Well, you're on the planning and the
Oh,
BZA.
I get paid extra. I'm sorry, but not by a lot, I promise.
I was just going to ask also, talk about allowing people as the public to know when and where things are. Like on the website, it said you were going to be housed in a police station. And then on the agenda, it was saying you were going to be housed here at Sycamore Hall and Woodland. So two discrepancies.
Because we've been here for a long time, so we will get that
This is our
fixed.
first visit, so we'll
But
be back.
no,
Yeah.
we are always the first Monday of the month.
Yeah.
And Kurt, is there a place where you post what our agenda?
So if I can jump in.
Yes.
Several things. We're in the process of renovating City Hall, the former fire station in the back of City Hall. We're probably 4 or 5 months away from finally making the move back to a common location for our meetings. Included in that meeting are many of the technology and advances that you're talking about there. We kind of just have a real hit or miss technology inside
Because
this
of the
building right now.
circumstances,
So that's the first thing. The second thing in terms of the website, and again, this is where technology catches you. We do have a website in the city, and the information that's on the new website was loaded incorrectly. So 3 months ago, that it all said it was the meetings would be here. The new upload, the new website still talks about the police station, even though the agenda talks about it being here. So the folks that are in the process of making that transformation to the new website was one of the things that was missed, and it was just caught a couple days ago. So again, we apologize for that, but it's one of those things where we just couldn't catch the technology when that new website was up and running.
Could a marquee, because you're telling us that the first Monday of the month is Planning Commission. I don't know that other people in the community know that, and I'm not certain everybody would be of interest, but I am now because I see how much is going on throughout the whole community. And to me, I think the overall plan, I looked at several things like the Marquette project, the Highway 20 corridor, the Central Avenue. There's a lot of wonderful things happening, but I'm a little worried about this whole idea of developing homes and this like kind of explosion. Because I feel like when you get to that point, some of the little details get lost. And I'm really big on green space and saving the trees, and you know, in terms of the environment and the carbon cycle and the benefits of oxygen. And you know, I'm so glad the questions came up about the 50-foot lot, which I don't even understand.
Annette?
Yes.
Annette, why don't we explain this next week?
Okay, next time. Okay, so thank you.
No, I appreciate it. And
We have a motion to adjourn and we have a second. All those in favor stand up.
Aye.
But, yeah.